For 5,000 years, the Valyrian Freehold was the undisputed superpower of the known world. By combining advanced sorcery with the military might of tamed dragons, this empire conquered nearly the entirety of the eastern continent of Essos. Power within the Freehold was shared among a council of 40 great dragonlord families. Within that strict hierarchy, House Targaryen barely registered. They had land and they commanded dragons, but their wealth and influence paled in comparison to the giants of Valyrian politics. That dynamic held until a young girl named Daenys Targaryen experienced a vivid, terrifying vision. 12 years before it actually happened, Daenys dreamt of mountains splitting open, seas boiling, and the greatest dragonlords burning alive in the sky. In an empire built on magic, dreams were often dismissed as superstition. But her father, Lord Aegon, listened. He liquidated his sprawling estates, gathered his household, and moved his family, along with their 5 dragons, to a bleak volcanic rock on the western edge of the world. The ruling elite of Valyria mocked the move. To them, trading the shining towers of the capital for a grim, storm-lashed outpost like Dragonstone was an act of extreme cowardice. For over a decade, the Targaryens endured the scorn of their peers. Enduring that public humiliation was the price of their survival. By accepting the label of cowards and removing themselves from the political center of the world, the Targaryens executed a calculated strategic retreat. Then the doom arrived. The chain of volcanoes surrounding the capital, known as the 14 Flames, erupted simultaneously. In a single day, the peninsula shattered, the capital was vaporized in ash and glass, and the 40 great dragonlord families were completely wiped out. Because they had isolated themselves on Dragonstone, the Targaryens emerged entirely untouched. Overnight, the minor house that had been laughed out of the empire became the last surviving dragonlords on the planet. The collapse of the Valyrian Freehold plunged the rest of the world into chaos. The next 100 years became known as the Century of Blood, a period of global anarchy where former colonies and conquered territories fought fiercely to fill the power vacuum. During that century, the oldest Valyrian colony, Volantis, launched a massive military campaign, rapidly swallowing up neighboring free cities. Simultaneously, Dothraki hordes poured out of the east. They devastated the continent, burning cities and crashing directly into the overextended Volantine borders. The sudden evaporation of the world's governing authority left Essos completely destabilized. Without a centralized power to enforce borders, the continent fractured into a brutal, multi-front war of attrition. Desperate to secure their crumbling campaign, Volantis reached out to Dragonstone. They invited a young Aegon Targaryen to join their alliance, asking him to use his dragons to help subjugate the East and restore Valyrian glory. Aegon refused. Instead of helping Volantis build a rival empire, he mounted his dragon, Balerion the Black Dread, and flew into battle on the side of the rebel cities fighting against Volantine expansion. This chart illustrates exactly what Volantis was up against. Balerion was not a normal dragon. His sheer biological scale was incomprehensible. Historical accounts note that a fully grown elephant could walk straight into his open mouth. Deploying a weapon of this magnitude onto a conventional battlefield provided an overwhelming, insurmountable advantage. Aegon intercepted the Volantine fleet near the city of Lys and burned their ships to ash. That single deployment shattered the military power of Volantis, ensuring the old Valyrian Empire would stay dead. By crushing the Volantine threat, Aegon accomplished something vital. He permanently secured his eastern border. With no rival superpower left to attack Dragonstone from the rear, his forces were completely free to pivot west. This map shows a fractured Westeros, divided into 7 kingdoms locked in perpetual war. Aegon landed at the Blackwater Rush with his sister wives and fewer than 1,600 men, sending an ultimatum to every monarch: yield or be destroyed. The Westerosi kings laughed at the tiny army, trusting their massive stone keeps. But when the Ironborn king refused to surrender, Aegon bathed the impenetrable fortress of Harrenhal in flames. Its massive stone towers glowed red and melted like wax, cooking the defenders inside. Standing armies fared no better. When the kings of the Reach and the Westerlands combined their forces to field a massive army of 55,000 men, Aegon deployed all 3 Targaryen dragons at once. Thousands of soldiers burned alive in minutes, in a massacre remembered as the Field of Fire. Seeing the total military annihilation of his southern neighbors, the king in the north, Torrhen Stark, chose a different path. When Aegon's army marched north, Stark laid down his crown and knelt, preserving his army and saving his people from the flames. Dragonfire operated as a completely asymmetrical military technology. It bypassed traditional siege warfare and rendered both massive standing armies and thick stone walls tactically useless. To cement his physical control over the continent, Aegon gathered the weapons of the lords who had fallen against him. He used Valyrian's fire to melt thousands of those surrendered blades down, forging them together into the Iron Throne. There was only one geographical limit to his campaign. The southern desert region of Dorne refused to meet the dragons in open combat. By utilizing brutal guerrilla tactics and retreating into the harsh environment, the Dornish managed to resist Aegon's forces and remain an independent state, but the rest of the continent belonged to the dragon. By sacrificing their social standing in Valyria and enduring decades of exile, House Targaryen survived an apocalyptic extinction event. They then weaponized that survival, using the last remnants of a dead empire to establish a unified dynasty that would rule Westeros for the next 300 years.